it's pioneer time, you know.
It's pioneer
Let's try
time.
something new. The other, I think, challenge that sometimes guys they will say, I don't have the time for these things. Once I'm done with my job, I need to go home and I need to be with my family. It's family time. In the book, I try to challenge guys to think about their role as protector, provider, and presider as not just over their family. That's their primary responsibility, but as a collective thing where if you and I were neighbors, Stephen, it's something that we do together and
Hmm.
that we can collaborate on so that
Right.
our families are even more protected and presided over and provided for
Right.
than they would be if we were all just individual silos.
You said this in your book, I think, but it's like man's true role is to build community. That is how we
Yeah,
provide. That is how we
yeah,
protect. Is we
exactly.
literally go out and we build a community of other men and society to support us, right? And to was about bringing people together.
Yeah. And our role is a little corrupted where it's like, oh no, I need to do it all myself. I have to, if I don't do it myself, then I'm a failure as a man.
Hey friends, Steve Cooper here, and I've got a special guest today, Michael Peroni, or otherwise known as Peroni. I just want to give a little bit of background, and then I'd love for you to introduce yourself, Michael or Peroni. I guess my wife went to college with you,
Uh-huh.
and you guys were like friends in college. Anyway, she like always just tell me like about her past and all the stories of her college experience, which were great. But she starts reading these articles and she's like, "Man, I love this stuff. This is so good. Steve, you got to read this. You got to read this." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't read much." And anyway, and then she's like, "Oh my heck, my friend came out with this book." And this book is only the weird will survive. And so I was like, okay, I'll read it. Anyway, I read it and I couldn't put it down. And I was like literally highlighting pages. Like I'm like, this line's amazing, amazing, amazing. Like reading here, it was just like the most like I hardly read books other than like the scriptures. And this book is like amazing. So anyway, so that's my intro to you, Michael. It's you're a wordsmith and it's amazing and you have a special message. So why don't you give us a little background of you and tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's quite an introduction and quite a compliment. I appreciate that. So yeah, I'm Michael Peroni. I'm originally from Texas, and as a true Texan, I always have to remember that or mention that. But I am raising my family. My wife and I live in the Pacific Northwest. We're Latter-day Saints. My wife is a convert, and my parents are converts, and so we don't have a ton of family history in the gospel, but obviously very happy to that our families found the church. And yeah, so in terms of the book, do you want me to kind of talk about how it came about or
Yeah, yeah. How did this book come about? We're gonna dig into this book because
yeah.
the insights he shares in here is just like so eloquently put words to what I've been experiencing in society as a general. And it's like, that's what I've been trying to say all this time. Anyway, but yeah, yeah.
Yes.
How did you start with the book?
So I would say so the book is a lot of the message of the book is essentially to help men build community and fraternity into their lives. Uh, and so the book came out of my experience being a guy in 21st century America, right? Uh, where especially once you get married, and you have children, suddenly you live a very isolating existence and you find yourself fairly powerless and unable to influence kind of the world around you and your children to a certain extent and harder to relate to other people. And so my book came out of that experience, observing my own experience and talking to hundreds of other guys about their experience, and then coming up with, well, how do we fix it?
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah, and I've felt that way myself. Just like, yeah, you get married, you do all the things, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you go on a mission if you go on a mission, you come home, you go to college, you get married, you get a job, and you put your kids in school, and like all of these things just like isolate men more and more and more. And it's like, wow, I don't really have any friends. I don't really have other guys that I'm like really connected with, really, like at a deep level, you know?
Yeah.
And it just, yeah, it's very isolating. And so I
Yeah.
feel like how you define that in your book is incredible. And I want you to explain a little bit about the cliff we're all going to and like the isolation of, the state and where the state is taking us versus
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, so the opening analogy I use in the book is sort of like society, and this may sound a little hyperbolic the way I describe it verbally, but if society is heading towards a cliff, or just a group of people is heading towards a cliff, doesn't have to even be society, you see the cliff, you don't want to run off the cliff with them. You want to go a different way. If normal is just running full speed towards the cliff, then you're willing to be weird. You're willing to do something different, right? Because you don't want to just run off a cliff. And so that's sort of the analogy I make is if the normal way that men are expected to live, to work, to interact with each other and interact with broader society, makes you miserable, makes you lonely, makes you so that your family doesn't have control over its own destiny, makes it so it's harder to have grandchildren, makes it so it's harder for younger men to get married and have families in the first place, then what's the point of being normal? Why would anyone want that? Uh, and if you're willing to be weird, how weird are you willing to be? How much are you willing to change your life so that you can actually improve your life and make those changes so that you're not living this lonely, atomized, powerless existence?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you for sure. It's like when I look at everything, it's just like I mean, like the last couple years I've been like, wow, like all the food is out to kill me. Like it's full of dyes, it's full of all these ingredients I don't even know what the heck it is. That's out to kill me. Healthcare is out to kill me. I mean, doctors, they're just prescribing drugs that are like, I mean, opioids, you don't have like literally
Yeah.
opioids are an addictive thing and they literally made it addictive so people would get hooked. And it's like healthcare system is literally trying to kill me. And yes, they do a lot of good, but it's like it's trying to kill me. Finances. Why are homes so blasted expensive?
Hmm.
Like like luckily I bought homes in 2010 when the economy was tanked and that was affordable and are able to buy our farm. My farm, 5 acre farm, costs as much as a condo does now.
Yeah.
And that was like 5 years or 8 years ago. And so it's like, I don't see how kids going forward are going to even be able to afford a home. You have to have both people, your husband and wife working full time, having amazing jobs. And then you have childcare. Anyway, like finances, debt, it's like credit cards. I mean, it's just taking us all down. Our jobs, just like, anyway, it's like entertainment, even is like all entertainment is leading us down a hole of pornography and horribleness. Like, political, like government politics. It's just like either side is like a lose-lose. And education. Anyways, I'm just like, man, everything is out to kill me. Everything's out to
Yeah.
destroy my family and kill me. And that's what I've
Yeah.
been thinking lately. And then, Michael, you put it so much more eloquently. So let's hear your side of that.
Yes. So the way I think about it is you see all these problems. You can't fix it by yourself, right? Like I can't, you can't, no one listening, right? We can't do it. We can't fix it by ourselves. Um, but we're in this state because or we're in this position, I should say, because it's something you mentioned before. In the first part of the book, I talk a lot about the state versus community. And I think sometimes I use the word state. Sometimes it can have a political or even Marxist connotation, but I don't use it in that regard. I just use it simply to describe mediated relationships, essentially, that whether it's a corporation or a government or just any kind of entity, most of our relationships are mediated. We don't go to each other for anything. We kind of have to get things through some large organization. And on the flip side of that is community, which would be unmediated associations. So one example would be entertainment, and I think an example I use in the book is baseball. So if you go back to sort of the history of the sport, you think about even Joseph Smith's time, they played early versions of this game. They set the rules, they set the cadence, they got to decide who participated, who didn't. You felt it if you won, you felt it if you lost, you earned some degree of skill by doing it, right? And this persisted through of most of the history of the game, where you have neighborhood or just other groups of guys coming together and playing. And that's unmediated relationship where you can come together with other people and solve some problem, in this case, entertainment or an aspect of your culture. Um, but you think about how most people consume culture now, consume entertainment. It's not something that to watch a baseball game now or a football game or anything else, it requires nothing of me except to be in a relationship with the state, with a large organization. And I get what I need from that. And that is leads to isolation. I don't have to go and talk to anyone. I don't have to go and be with anyone. I don't have to subject myself to any sort of relationship. I can just do it on my own. And you look at that across almost every dimension of life, and we say, well, these things are killing us, drugs or food or entertainment or the school system or whatever. It's because they're not meant for us anymore. They built it for sort of just the society rather than people. As
Right.
they built it so that we can live alone. It kind of, I try to make this point early in the book that we chose this. We may not have intentionally chose it, but over the course of generations, we designed the situation
Yeah,
that we're in.
it's just like the natural events. It's like you said, it's like the guys are playing baseball on the field, and then some guys like, hey, let's start a league and let's go
Yeah,
play against other communities, you know, and it's like
yeah,
that was fun. That was cool.
yeah,
And then it's like goes from there, it goes to, a little more organized. Now we're having pro, I'm like, I'm gonna dedicate all my time to this. And now it's like you said, it's totally isolating. It's like we sit on our phone and watch the baseball game or the football game or whatever game. We don't define the rules. It's not connecting us with anyone else, and it's totally isolating.
yeah. We get to decide. All we have to do is decide if we're going to consume it or not, if we're what we're going to consume. But basically, our options are consuming.
Yeah. And
So
now like for me, I've never been like I love playing sports, but I hate like watching it. I just feel like I'm totally wasting my time, which that's kind of weird. Like
yeah,
most
it's
people are like talking about the game or talking like, and I could care less, like, but it's just, and now I'm kind of this like outsider that's like kind of weird, you know?
yeah, and it does feel weird to not want to consume the things that everyone else is consuming. But really, the way out of all of these problems is to say, I'm instead of receiving some element of my culture and my identity from these organizations, I'm going to go and make it myself. I'm going to go find friends and go. I use the baseball game. It's a really small, almost inconsequential thing, but I'm going to go play the game instead of watching it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I know I've actually, we've been resisting putting our kids in community sports
Hmm.
just because it's like, I mean, our kids are homeschooled, but most kids, it's like they're homeschool or they go to school and they come home and then you go to their activities and you come home and go to bed. Like
Yeah.
there's, there are sports games, right? But I built a soccer field in my yard and we just try to like go play soccer as a family.
Yeah.
And one
That
idea
makes
we
sense.
have is like we're going to start inviting other families over and just saying Coopers versus the other neighbors, right? Like,
Uh-huh.
and so trying to bring that bring that back.
That
Yeah.
sounds awesome.
So yeah, I've kind of been like even going against like even though I loved playing sports with my, kids my age, I love that, but I also see how that's like tearing our family apart a little bit.
I feel like it's changed. And I don't, my kids don't participate in very much of that, but it feels like the stakes of youth sports have escalated just from anecdotally travel teams and higher levels of competition, more practices, more demanding game schedules, rather than it just being a fun thing that a kid does once or
Right.
twice.
Like we're
So
trying to make all of our kids pro football, pro baseball, pro, and you're like, how
yeah.
many of them are actually going to be pro anything like with in regards to sports? Like it's very low percent, you know?
Well,
But
and the thing that I've seen too, not to make this a conversation about going pro, but if oftentimes the ones that do go pro are the ones that have played like fewer, like they play just a variety of sports less seriously. The kids that are, you know, having hitting and pitching coaches at age 8, that those kids don't normally go pro. So
they're so burnt out of it by the time they are
yeah,
pro age.
yeah,
That's crazy. I didn't realize that. So
yeah,
anyway, that's a good example though, like just looking at entertainment or sports. But if you really look at any aspect of our lives, it's all gone that way.
yeah,
And so now we're finding ourselves basically in bondage to the state.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's just total bondage.
You know, it's you look at the two more consequential things. You want to say public school and then the workplace, a career, right? Um, no wonder we have so many problems with boys failing to launch when dad is at work all day, completely removed from the context of the boy's maturation and growth and development and all that kind of stuff. And then you put the boy in a situation where he's completely removed from his family culture. He's completely removed from his values. He's completely removed from any sort of healthy adult attachment. And he's put in with just a whole bunch of insecure, immature peers. And really, at that point, anyone that gets through that process and or through that experience and they're able to then, from an LDS context, experience success and go on missions or get married and provide for a family, they've survived it. It wasn't something that helped them. They survived that process. And it's just totally bonkers that this is normal. This is what we do.
Yeah, I know. It's like, but what about their social education? It's like you really want their social education to be a bunch of immature peers that are gonna like pull them down like a bunch of crabs and just like make them have all these doubts and worries about their self-esteem and who they are and doubt everything that we've taught them at the home.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's yeah, you're right. It's survival. It's survival.
yeah, it's funny to me. Like I think obviously our kids should have friends and peers, but it's interesting that we think that that is where they should learn socialization. You know, I don't remember if I mentioned this in the book. I've certainly mentioned it in other places, but we're not raising children, we're raising adults, future adults, right? And if you are socialized entirely by just the current peer culture, well, that current peer culture is insecure and it has an expiration date. Just like you and I are no longer cool, right? We're not 15 or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Our expiration date and that culture's expiration date, are long since passed. And so, what good did that socialization do for us? And instead, we should be asking, how did it hold us back? How could we have been better if we had been raised in a situation where we were socialized within a fraternal context, with mature, wise, visionary men and caretakers?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a total paradigm shift of like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's way better. Like to be raised by men who understand what it means to be a man
yeah,
in the best versions of that,
yeah.
you know?
And right now, I think even sometimes I feel like, within the church, we have it better than almost anyone else. But even within the church, I feel like we're just getting just a bit of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like it's not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason why we've chosen to homeschool. I mean, Prony, you homeschool as well,
We
right?
do, yeah.
So it's and that's weird. You know, that's a weird thing
Yeah.
to do, right? It's I can't tell you how hard it is to like just break free from the shift of like, oh, my kids aren't like on the same level, like their grade level, and like just totally breaking that paradigm. It's been hard. It's like just breaking down the barriers of my own mind, you know. It's just and then that because people are always talking to you and asking you like, "Oh, your kids struggle with reading." It's like, "Well, yeah, but they're excellent at art or they're incredible at this." And it's like we can
Yeah.
see their strengths and we don't have to like ramrod. In fact, I've been studying dyslexia, and a lot of times the reason dyslexia becomes a problem is because we're ramrodding one type of education down
Mm.
kids' throats. And so then what happens is they develop um, disorders. They develop disorders just to get by, and that's the disability. It's not that anything's wrong with them. It's just that we're ramrodding one style of education down their throats, and that's what causes the problem.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I could see that. I mean, the public school model, for anything it does well, it's just not, it's a one size fits all. It's everyone's going to go through this, and we're preparing you for a certain kind of outcome that may or may not be what is actually good for you.
Yeah, yeah. And really, every aspect of our lives has gotten us to this same point. I mean, we've talked on entertainment, sports, and education, but it's all driven us down to this thing that's not serving us. It's not actually helping. It's just tearing the family apart and it's killing us, literally. So, Michael, you said it. Say the words. Hit me. Pioneer time,
Oh,
right?
it's pioneer time. Yes, yes. It's pioneer time. I I have um, a lot of energy and excitement to build the next version of this that will work for our families, right? To not be so invested in the status quo, and instead say, all right, for example, college is not necessarily the sure thing that it used to be. What else can I do for my kids, right? Um,
Mhm.
I am a lonely, middle-aged man. Well, what can I do differently? And I use the word pioneer because, it means you're going out into unexplored territory and it's gonna be uncomfortable and it's gonna be weird. Um, but the idea is you go and you do it because you think on the other side of the trial and the challenge is going to be something that's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. And really, yeah, it is pioneer time. Like we
Yeah.
have to, and I love what you say in your book is like, we can't go back. It's like, we can't just be like, okay, let's try to recreate life like it was in the 1910s or the
Yeah.
1800s. Like we
Yeah.
can't go back. We
No.
have to go forward and create something new and attractive. Like
Yep.
it has to be new and it has to be attractive. And it has to serve us and not kill us. Like
Yeah.
it's like it, but it's
Yeah.
got to be different, and it's gonna look. Everyone's gonna look at us and be like, "They're so weird. Like, what are they doing? They're breaking all the norms." But
Yeah.
like, that's the courage, and I think, I know I've personally drawn, to my pioneer ancestors, their stories where they, most of my ancestors were early members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm talking 1830s, 1840s,
Wow.
and they they heard the message from the missionaries and they left everything. They
Yeah.
traveled and then they lost their farms. They would establish a farm. They lost their farms five, six, seven times in their lives, starting over from like complete fresh in a new land and a new area. And like they were brave enough because they knew what they were working towards. They were working towards Zion,
Yeah.
which is community.
Yeah.
They're working toward this community, the Zion-like state where they could escape the pressures of the world and have a community all united in one. And that's what they were willing to sacrifice everything for. And so I think for us, we need to look at their stories and be like, it's time to do that again. We have to
Yeah.
be willing to sacrifice everything and then to build something better, build something
Yeah.
new. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm
I didn't have, like I mentioned, I don't have any church pioneers in my family history, but um, my family on one side has been in the United States, well, since colonial era. Another side just much more recently in the last 120 years. But in both cases, when I read about their stories, and I think anyone would find this, they go back in history just a few generations. It's difficult to, or I should say, it should be inspiring to look at them and realize none of our ancestors had just these predetermined slots that they just had to fill in society and in the world. They made their own way. They just went and did things. And too often, I feel like we as modern people, we just can't fathom that. Like, well, I have to go do this thing so I can be recognized by this entity, and then I could fill this role and be rewarded and have stability. And stability is good, um, but I think the underrated path is, if once again, if the normal system isn't cutting it, if it's building this unsustainable way of living that's isolating, making family life harder, then we should explore something else and be willing to be pioneers.
yeah. Yeah. I think one of the best examples of this and
Mhm.
is Captain Moroni in the Book of Mormon.
Oh
Like
yeah.
reading your book, I just like I'm going back through the notes and I was like looking at I wrote Captain Moroni like so many times. I'm like, oh my heck, that's exactly what he did. Is because really when you think about it, what is government? It's like men, community of men is government, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've kind of like given it off to the state and someone else is kind of controlling it. And it's with everything Trump's doing, it's clear to see that there's not a lot of control there
Uh-huh.
of what has been going on and all the things they're stopping now that's like just ridiculous. But like Captain Moroni, he basically what he did, what did he do? He put on his armor. First he made a covenant with God. He like tore his cloak, wrote the title Liberty on it, made a covenant with God and prayed. And then he went out and he found men. And he
Yeah.
says, "Men, it's time for us to fight for our God, our religion, our freedom, our peace, our wives, and our children." And
Yeah.
that's how he built community was around those things. And he just every community you go to, he would just gather men, and men came flocking to him to fight for those things.
Yeah.
And anyway, I just like that's kind of what we have to do today. We have to stop and say, no, I'm going to go make a covenant with God. I'm going to say, God, I'm going to do your will. I'm going to do what you want me to do. Help me to stop this insanity and let's build community.
Yeah. I feel like the church actually gives us a lot of um, opportunity and structure to do this already. I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, it starts with something as simple as ministering, but how many of us actually do that and do it to the extent that the church asks us to do it? I mean, you look in the handbook, even it says, what a ministering brother or sister are supposed to do, and they're supposed to be pretty involved in the lives of the people they're ministering to. But I would imagine the average ministering relationship is, "Hey, Stephen, anything I can do for you? No?
No?
Okay, you know."
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
I guess can I take out your trash? Okay,
Yeah.
um,
It's like,
and
thanks.
yeah, and so I don't even know that it's necessarily doing. Sometimes I wonder, is it even doing anything new? It's more just living up to the covenants and privileges that we already have in some cases in the church.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like what you said is the church is like the minimum. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, we're actually gonna pull back and like allow you guys to be a little bit more independent thinking. I mean, we used to do home teaching. It was like every month, go teach this specific lesson that we're gonna give you and go
yeah,
share that with the family. It was very defined. And now they've taken that and they're saying, no, it's ministry now. Go and
Yeah.
love them, serve them. And it's like, even that they're setting the bar of here, like, hey, this is what the church, what we expect. And it's like, we're like, okay, well, I guess I'll do less than that. It's like,
Yeah.
no, that's the minimum. Like, we need to be looking above that. And I think the same thing with like young men's. We used to have the scouting program,
Hmm.
and now we've done away with that. Like you've talked about before, Michael, but it's like they set this new program and we're like, okay, how can I do less than that? And you're like,
Yeah.
no, we need to do more. Like
Yeah.
we need to like actually independently bring together a group of men and decide how we're going to raise these men, how we're going to minister. Like that's
Yeah.
what, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I have a part in the book about the opportunity that Latter-day Saints have in particular when it comes to youth program and how um, the church has asked us to create that essentially to help our youth and our youth leaders to lead out um, on what it means essentially to grow in the gospel as a teenager in a local ward or stake. And that is a tremendous pioneering and creative opportunity. And I feel like oftentimes we're like, well,
Yeah.
let's play chair soccer in the gym. So,
Yeah. No, exactly. Exactly. I mean, that's really like kind of why I'm building Christian Warrior Camp in a way, is just like trying to build some Christ center activities that people can come in and enjoy,
yeah,
that aren't just like, yeah, playing chair soccer or going to the local farm park just to like go on a little zip line and stuff. And those things are fun and good, but like, what's the spiritual point? Like, how is that bringing our youth closer to Christ and giving
yeah,
them really fun new things to do that are going to build their faith?
yeah. They're gonna. I saw this slide recently from a church training that said I'm trying to paraphrase it here that said essentially all the research the church has done about youth and youth retention and activity. They said that no single program, not like Dewey to God or the Boy Scouts or Young Women's was Personal Progress, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, None of those things necessarily made a big difference. What made the difference is did the youth have a good relationship with leaders, parents, and peers? And
Interesting.
if they did, then the program worked. If they didn't, it didn't matter what the program was. It didn't work very well, and
Interesting.
or it didn't work at as high a rate. And and that's kind of how I think about this stuff. What you're doing, Christian warrior camps, or some of what we do in the churches, we have to design programs that build relationships, good, strong, spiritually like fortified relationships. And if we do that, then we're building community at that point, and we're building people who are able to thrive in the next generation.
I'm taking notes. This is awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I love that. That's interesting. I've never heard that before. It doesn't matter what the program was. It was like, yeah, thinking back, like that makes sense. It's like my leaders are the ones that like I felt that they really loved me and cared about me and
Yeah.
made me want to be a man like them. Like that's the benefit I got. Like, yeah, I'm an Eagle Scout, but like it was the men and it was their passion, seeing their passion. It was like, and that was the part that stuck out to me the most.
Yeah. So if they were like, we're going to learn how to tie knots or we're going to learn how to do this or do that, that was less important than I'm having this good relationship and I'm being mentored and yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So,
that is awesome. Okay. So what are some practical ways to start building community? Because like, yeah, it's like at some time, like in your book, you say, if we're gonna pave a road, I think it's a quote from Brigham Young, if we're gonna pave a road back to Zion and gold, like we gotta do it. We gotta like get the shovels out and we gotta go start mining the gold. Right. I
yeah.
totally botched that quote, but
Yeah, I love it. It's a good old fashioned Brigham quote where he says essentially if the angels live in paradise and their roads are paved with gold, it's because they went and got the gold. And then if we are going to live in Zion and have our streets paved with gold, then we got to go to the mountains and we got to get it. God's not just going to say, you guys are righteous, here's gold streets, right? Um,
Right.
and so there's the aspect of the gospel. It's like, well, we've got to go and build it. And and so to your question, what are the practical things? The book is structured where it's a journey, right? Like with the start of the book, you are in the current state of manhood and kind of what a normal guy's life is like. And then as the book progresses, it's hopefully layered in such a way that it's like, okay, this problem, this problem, this problem. This is how you solve it by going, going even deeper, right? And towards the end of the book, the idea is, all right, now you have built something that not only is good for you, it's good for your sons, it's good for other men in your life, and it's something that is sustainable, right, across a community. But
Hmm.
in terms of like practical first steps, things that people can do, um, one of the first things that I usually recommend is just go and make friends. I know a lot. I know that sounds simple, but
Yeah.
ways that I have found that are relatively effective in making friends are is going out to lunch. Every guy has to eat lunch. If you work from home, there's probably other people that work from home near you. Find a time to go to lunch with them. If you obviously work, in downtown or with some other place, there's guys there in that area that you can go to lunch with. So find ways to contact to be around guys that you want to be around. You can probably start with guys in your ward or your stake or in your neighborhood. I mean, whatever. Um, Another thing along with that is finding ways to make your work time count as double duty, either with friends or with your children. Um, and so that could be involving your children in what you do at work. It could be trying to find friends at work. It could be, um, if you really want to go for it, and maybe not super practical on step one, but go into business or go find some way to do work with people you're already wanting to be friends with or already friends with.
Yeah.
Let me stop right there, but there's more, but let's stop right there.
Yeah. No, I think
Give
I
you a
think
chance to
that's good.
react.
It's just, I mean, everyone's different. Like I quit my job like almost 2 years ago, and
Uh-huh.
it's like my life is just like blossomed. Like not to say that I didn't love my job and love the people I worked with, and that was great, but now it's like now I get to work with my kids, and it's like
Yeah.
I get to be, and it's even been hard still. Like my wife's always reminding me, like, Steve, you need to involve your kids in your work. And I'm like, thank you, I forgot. Like it just like it's so natural for men to just like go into this silo of being alone, and just like, well,
Yeah.
this is what we do. But like, yeah, mentoring my kids and so I have been able to help them like help me in my lava sand, lava heating pad business, and that's been fun. Like it's just been fun to work with them and I'm looking now as they're getting older to even expand that and have them actually take real ownership in the business and in all the adventures that we do. And you may even start businesses that they want to start with them and we partner
Yeah.
together. And um, so, but yeah, that's awesome. I think one of the other things I've done recently, reading your book, I was just like, I'm starting a scripture study group. Like,
There you go.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
call up the guys that the guys that make the comments in church that are like, that guy actually studies the scriptures. Like,
Uh-huh.
he's going deep. I want that guy. So anyway, I've yet to have my scripture study group with there's some of these men in my ward, but I'm definitely working on getting a time where we schedule that. Like my wife has this Inklings group she goes to, and I've actually gone to it several times,
Hmm.
where it's a group of women and they read the conference talks from General Conference and they study them together. They just meet together once a month and then they just talk about it. And they talk about anything, really.
Yeah.
But it's like they're doing this, like we should do that too. Like
Yeah.
let's start man cleans,
Yeah.
right? Like or something like, and we can study the conference talks, or we can study apocryphal texts, or we can study, the Book of Mormon or scriptures or whatever. Like let's just decide what we're going to study and then do it, and then come have real conversations together. So that's one thing I'm working on in a small way to start.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think in the book I give several criteria for essentially how to start, what to look for in starting groups of guys, getting together. And then I offer, I guess, a paradigm shift to a sort of a mental shift. I can talk about that in a second. But you there's something about coming together in a meaningful context that's going to actually create the kind of relationships you want. Getting together to watch the game, getting together to play video games or whatever else, like it's not that that's necessarily bad all the time, but it's not going to create the context for thick community. It's not gonna create something that's gonna last beyond just that time you're together watching the game,
So
you know?
what are activities that would foster that deeper connection, you
Yeah.
think?
So what you said, like scripture study, uh, working out together would be something like that creates a little bit more of a bond. Anything that can create or foster real conversations, so problem solving. Um, for a little while, there was a group of guys in my area who wanted to start their own businesses. And so I started an entrepreneurship group, and we would come together once a month and discuss our business problems. Uh, and that led to some real tangible things outside of that group. Um, and I had another thought. What was it? That another thing would be, um, I mean, to me, the ultimate, if you're able to do it, is going into business with someone, right? Or
Yeah.
with multiple people. If you're able to do that, and that's a big part of why I quit my corporate job six years ago, seven, whatever it was, and because I thought I want to work with guys that I know and that I like. And since then, almost everyone that I've worked with, either as a client or as a partner, or as much as I can when I have to purchase from someone, it's like, well, who in my network can help me? Who in my network can can uh, can offer something to me? And that is one step closer towards building a real relationship. And
Right.
sometimes people are hesitant with that. We're really well trained by the state, right? It's like, well, we need to actually not know the people we do business. It's really bad to do business with friends, family.
Because we don't want to
And
ruin those relationships.
you don't
Yeah.
ruin those relationships. Well, the problem is you never really create those relationships unless you are in more meaningful context with people. And yes, there's always the potential uh, for things to go sour, but it's pioneer time, you
It
know.
is pioneer
Let's try
time.
something new.
Right.
Uh, but the other, I think, challenge that sometimes guys, I shouldn't say sometimes, it's very prevalent where they will say, I don't have the time for these things. Once I'm done with my job, I need to go home and I need to be with my family. It's family time. And in the book, I try to challenge guys to think about their role as protector, provider, and presider as not just over their family. That's their primary responsibility, but over like as a collective thing where if you and I were neighbors, Stephen, it's something that we do together and
Mhm.
that we can collaborate on so that
Right.
our families are even more protected and presided over and provided for
Right.
than they would be if we
Interesting.
were all just individual silos.
Yeah, I feel like man's true role, like I think you said this in your book, I think, but it's like man's true role is to build community. That is how we
Yeah,
provide. That is how we
yeah,
protect. Is we
exactly.
literally go out and we build a community of other men and society to support us, right? And to was about bringing people together.
Yeah. Now our role is a little corrupted where it's like, oh no, I need to do it all myself. I have to, if I don't do it myself, then I'm a failure as a man. And I don't think that's right at all.
Yeah, I know I've personally struggled with that tremendously.
Yeah.
Is like,
It's the water in which we swim, right? So
yeah. But we all have different gifts and abilities, It's like I'm like pulling other people's strengths, and if we can really work together, I mean, how much better off. And I've actually in my community, I live in a small town, and I've seen some people that are starting to work together, like some guys in my ward, like they do this like CEO training, and they'll go on horse rides. So we partnered with one of these other guys that also loves horses, and they'll like take these CEOs back
Yeah.
into the backcountry on horse rides as part of this like adventure, and it's like they've partnered together, and it's like that's so cool. I'm like, I need to do that and stop being so isolated in this way as well.
Yeah, there's a million and one ways to do it. And I just it's just it has to have a meaningful context and you're in the right path.
Yeah.
So
So I love how you end your book. I don't know if you want to spill the beans right now, but
that's fine. I can, yeah.
I just like it like opened my mind to like a new way to like how to really rally men together. And like I was thinking like, oh my gosh, it's about our children.
Hmm.
They're the secret to building the community. That's where we start. It's
Yeah.
another way to start is like rally around the children. I look at my wife and what she's done she's built a co-op group with like these women, and they teach our kids together. And some of the husbands were kind of involved but kind of not really. And I'm like, we got to get involved more.
Hmm.
Like this is part of where like let's bring the men into this way
Yeah.
more, and not just to like to hang out, but like to really to do this. And obviously some of the men still have jobs and they don't have the time, but no, I need to help the men. Like she's gathered a community of women. I need to gather those community of men and like work together as for the benefit of all of our children.
Yeah.
And that's how
Yeah.
we can give them the resources that they need, right? And the training they need in different aspects.
Yeah. And I think it's actually a blind spot of homeschooling where the the moms typically do pretty well coming together and helping the younger children. And then when a kid, especially a boy, gets to be, 12, 13, 14 years old, um, really it should be the men, the fathers leading the education at that point. And most of the time in most co-op or school or I should say homeschooling situations, it's not, right? Um, and um, like you said, if men came together and said, "All right, we are serious about creating something for our boys to go through and to experience, and we're gonna be allies as fathers," then it would be a tremendous boon not only for them as men but for their sons. And it's difficult, I think, to start it, but it's actually not, I feel like, that difficult to do.
Yeah. 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 Anyway, I think one of the things you talk about in the book and some of the ideas you've introduced to me is doing these manhood initiation things, which
Yeah,
basically like, no, actually training your men how to be men or training your boys how to become men. And I
yeah,
think I'd love to talk to you again about those experiences that I'm about to do this with my son. And after that, I'd love to chat with you again about that and share what we've learned with others. But
yeah, that
really,
sounds
it's like
awesome.
that's the start of building the community is like, hey, well, I need to build this community to support my sons, right? So like,
Yeah,
they're not gonna build it. I got to build it.
yeah,
So we're gonna pull together men in the community, in the homeschool group, whatever, and to help raise my sons. Because again, it comes back to community is where we're gonna succeed. Because we can't be so isolated. We can't do everything ourselves.
yeah, yeah. One thing on that, spoiler, I guess, for if we chat again about this is when I when I did before I did a rite of passage for my son, I went around to all the other dads and I asked them if they would be willing to support me and help me raise my boy, right? And um, and I did it for two reasons. One, I wanted them to feel ownership of it. Um, and even though it wasn't their kid, I wanted them to feel ownership for it. But then two, I wanted them to know that they could rely on me too if they have challenges with their kids. And it's like, well, I'm asking you and you can ask me. And that is community. And it's just something that it's
Yeah,
incredible, but most of us just don't have that now.
yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. And what like really made that epiphany like hit me so hard is is the last analogy you give in your book, where it talks about the Lord of the Rings, which I am obsessed with Lord of the Rings and have been my whole life. And but anyway, I just the insight you pulled out of that, I'd love for you to share as to kind of like wrap this up, just
Yeah.
because it was just like, oh my heck, that was how it worked. Like anyway,
Yeah, you want me to give a brief summary of it?
yeah, if you would, that would be awesome.
Yeah, so in the book in the towards the end of the book, I make the analogy that in Lord of the Rings, each race in the book is analogous to a certain time in a man's life. You know, the hobbits are children, Rohan is like adolescence, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And how um, the hobbits encountering each race fixes what's wrong with that race, what they're challenged with at that time, and allows them to then relate to the other races better. Because at the start of Lord of the Rings, everyone's kind of estranged, everyone's isolated. Even these groups that live relatively close to each other, like we don't know anything about them. Um, but through the contact with children, with hobbits, and through focusing on their development, essentially, and
And
the
protecting them.
hobbits and protecting them, they not only save everyone, but they redeem their relationships so that they can work together again. So
Yeah. And
yeah,
yeah, you saying that was like, oh my heck, like I've never looked at it like that. And that was like the hobbits are the children. And it's like Elder Holland in this last general conference, he talked about
yeah,
becoming as a little child. And it's like that is the kingdom of God. It's like we need to look to the children as for how we need to like, stop being like the men of Gondor and or
yeah.
and like
Just nostalgic about, oh
just
yeah, it was
like
a thing better, you know.
and just like this like doomsday look at life, and like we need to
Yeah,
take the approach of looking at the hobbits and just the essence of like I'm just doing this because it's right, and like anyway, I just think that just totally encapsulates it. So it's like as we look to the children and help them and then help them to grow up and to like and support building community around them just like they did in Lord of the Rings, building the fellowship, to protect these hobbits who are going to take the ring into Mordor. It's like that's how we do it is like it's we take our young men our young women and we foster community around them and we protect them and as we do that we come together and build community.
yeah, yeah, 100%. It's you start with dads, and you start with their kids, and that's the basic building. That's why men will come together, or and do meaningful, great things together. Which is in the end all I really want. I want a whole bunch of friends I can just go do cool things with,
Right.
and and yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway,
and to help raise my children and to
yeah,
have this like I mean what is Zion, right? What is community? Ultimate community is Zion where we're all united, we're all one in mind and purpose and our children, we're not have to like everyone's protecting our children and we're all protecting each other's children. We're all united in one heart and one mind. Like,
yeah. Well, this one of my friends put it this way. He's like, I want to live in a community where I don't know where my kids are, but I know that they're safe.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah, and that's we got to go build that.
Yeah, we have to build it. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Peroni, for coming on and talking about these things. Again, I highly recommend this book for everyone to go read, and especially men and women. I mean, we kind of women need to support us and not like, what are you doing? Like going to do this man thing? Like,
Yeah.
no, we all need to be on the same page and see how society is isolating men, and then help men to do the role that they're divinely sent here to do is to build community and so that we can have Zion. I mean that at the end of the day, that's our goal, right? Is we're trying to build Zion and
Yeah.
out of this crazy world, and we're gonna have to get super, super weird to do that. Awesome. Any closing remarks, Michael?
No, I appreciate you having me on, and I enjoyed this conversation, and and yeah, I appreciate you recommending the book.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks. Appreciate your time and for putting your thoughts and helping us to to take some small steps to building Zion. So
Uh,
anyway, thanks.
Thank you.